Welcome to this video. In this video we'll take you through the process of creating a calculator for your GPA, which basic calculator. Just you enter your course code, the mark you received, and then the number of credit, and you add it. So it will add all of it. At the end it will calculate the GPA for you. We're using arrays, so there are 4 arrays that we're going to use. One is for the course, all courses will store in that array, then one for the mark and one for the course credit. When this application works, it will call the first this function, will call validate return back true or not, then it will add the data to the array, and then you will have calling this function which convert mark to grade. So you have 85, for example, it will return back what is the grade and what are the points. For every grade there is a point. You have done this exercise before, so that's something similar. And then at the end it will calculate the total and the credit and the GPA, and using this method display courses to display the results. So adding, validating, converting to grade, and displaying results. These are the 4 functions we'll be using in this example. And there are 4 arrays which use to store the data enter here plus the total of the points the student scored. So now we'll get into the demo. So what I'll do, I'll create a project. I think before that I'll show you what is the end result. So this is how it looks like if we start entering some data there, and then you'll start seeing the results. I'll put course code, and then I'll enter the mark. Then you will see click there, click added to the total. So I'll add another course now, and then it will add it to the table and keep adding until the end. Every time it does, it will create the GPA, as you can see, and also it will add some other information down, like the total marks, the total score, and stuff like that. And it's using that function convert mark to grade to get for me the grade and also calculate the total point for each course, as you can see. And this is the total for the whole, and this is the total for all credit. So that total of the points, and that's the way it works. So just take row by row and calculate the total point, the total credit, and then using GPA to divide the total point by total credit. Now we'll start working on our project. Let me open my folder. I have an empty folder here. I'll put it there, and then now we would like to create a file for HTML and file for our JavaScript. Now we'll create a new file. So we'll open a new file, save it as HTML. So index.html. Now let me open another file for my JavaScript. So we'll call it, save it as, we'll call it gpa.js. Excellent. So now we'll split the 2 screens. We'll use a split editor, so that way it looks nice. We'll have one. Let me display first the HTML and the first one. So go back, click on HTML. Now the first one is displaying HTML, the other one is displaying my JavaScript, so I can see both on the screen. So let's start having fun. We'll just add the main simple tags for creating HTML. So I just want to add it to here. So we'll continue building my HTML. So I'll have close the head, and then create a body and the rest. So here is the body. Then at the end, I'm closing the body and closing the HTML. Just link my JavaScript. So script source is in the same folder, gpa.js, and close that tag and close sorry, close the tag script. Okay, so these two files are linked now, and we'll test them later. So let's create a header here, or head one, and just write there GPA calculator. Yeah. So we'll have a section, and then we'll close the section, and within that we'll put the head. This is better way. So we can later format the section. So we'll put h1, then what did we say, GPA calculator, and then close it. Save it. We use Control S, Command S on Mac. So go back to the folder, double click on it. I think I did not save it, so I'll go back and save it. But let's see now if I click there and Control S, saved. Now to refresh, it's there. Very good. So our file is opening perfectly. Now let's do and create a form similar to the one we have. So we need 3 fields in it, one for the student to enter his course or her course, and the other one the mark, and the third one is the credit. How many credit is that course? So the first one is a text, which give it ID. CR will use for the course and then a placeholder, so user will see that there is place, and let's call it, say, enter course code. Then just close that tag. Open another one. I'll copy just the previous one if you want. Sorry for that. Then we'll change this to a number because the mark is a number, and then we'll give it an ID mark, yeah, that's what we'll use. And then in the placeholder we'll do something different, which enter student mark. Now we need a third one. Let's have a BR here, a break line, so we close a break line here, so the 3 will come below each other. So let's input another one. This should be a simple one, so we'll do it just by typing equal number, and then ID, we'll give it CH, and then placeholder will be enter course credit. Yeah, credit hours, that's better. Okay, let's close that one, close that one. So the basic form structure is there. We need just a button or submit one. We'll add that now. So refresh, it's coming there. Just remember to save the file before you refresh. It seems it's accepting numbers in the last 2 fields and not accepting text. That's right. Now we'll go to creating the button. So we'll say button, we'll give it on click event. So user click on it equal, I will call a function called add record, and then but we will just close that tag and write text here, add a record, and close the button. Yeah, I noticed that I did not do the function right. So here it should be open bracket, close bracket, because I'm calling a function. And save it, refresh, you will get the button that you want. So continue now. What we need those functions, but we'll write them later in the JavaScript. I think we need a table here. We need a table that will display all the different results, and we'll create a table, and we'll do a row in that table, and in that we'll have 5 columns. So let's close the row first and go to the first column and start entering the column. Okay, so table is there, so TD, the first column, and then we'll give it a class. I'll call it R. Why? Because later I can change all those columns, background and other things. And give it an ID, specific ID. You will see why I need ID. I'll call it CN1, course number 1, yeah? And then I think that's it. I think we close it. So there is no text into this one, so it's empty. We'll do the second one, same thing. So that will display the course name, yeah? And then the other one will have 5 of them. Let's do 5, yeah? Then the second one will display, should display the marks that we would like to see, and credit hours, mark, create hours, then mark, and then grade, and then GPA points, and the last one we will have just the total of the points. So I give each one, as you can see, 1, all of them 1. That means the first row. Now later I'll create a dynamic way to get it. So instead of wasting your time, let me copy what I have here for you and fill this one automatic, so you don't need to wait and watch me. So here is it. So what I'll do, this is all. See, this going from 1 to 5. These are what we want to have. I'll save it now. And then if we just refresh, we will start seeing the table. It's not there because it's empty and there is no order or anything to allow us to see it. So a better way to do it, I'll go to the head and create a CSS there. So I'll say style. Yeah, of course you can have it in a separate file, but for just this simple demonstration we'll just do it here, and later you can copy it and put it in an external file if you want. Okay, here, so the first one is that class of R. So we'll .R we'll use for changing all rows or columns so that has the class R, and they are all in the class R. So we'll give it a border of 1 pixel, I think should be enough, and make it solid. We can also give it a background of, I think yellow is my best color here, and then we'll give it a height so it comes clear on the screen with the right height. So let's say height 20 pixels. 20, yeah, should be okay. Save it, and now if we refresh, you'll have those small columns coming, a table coming there. We'll fill it in a dynamic way through our data entry, and we'll do that very well. Then what we need also, we need to have the last row. It will show the total of marks, total of credit, total of points, and that row is needed at the end of the table. So we'll create a new row here. I'll call it, we'll just fill it for you now. So it's a very simple one, which is not going to follow this numbering which we use because it's only one single one at the end. So just that's it. We'll have one, we call it RT, class RT. So I don't want it to follow the same color as the previous rows. And then we'll just create for this RT class some, I think I'll copy the same thing from the previous one. The only thing we will have different is the color. So you can just take that one from there and add it here, and it will change the color. Let me do this. So background will make it light blue. Refresh. Yeah, it looks fine. Now it looks okay. So the table is there, and it seems working fine. So what we need now, we need to start having a function to validate the user input and do other things. But also what I can do also just do for the section some coloring and centering. And so just close the section here which we opened up, and then I'll go and create CSS for it just quickly, so you can start seeing it looks in a better shape. This is just the one section I have, so I'll just use the tag name. So section will just and again take the same thing. I have done some for that, so not waste your time. So section will have a margin, I'll have border, and these things you're familiar with, hopefully. So that's how it looks like. But you notice that the table is outside the section. I think I have a mistake in my code. I did not close the section right. Oh, I have this closing here. I should remove it. Now it should come inside. Very good. Just to center it in the middle, center the table, and let me just add center here because it's just one center, and just at the end of that table we'll just close the center tag, and then things will come all centered in the middle, and it will look nice now in the table. So reload, looks perfect. I think we are done with our code which we have here. We need to start looking at the functions now. Functions will take the rest of the time, but they are basic function. They're not really that complicated function, but we need to do them properly. The first function we'll do is the validation. So just put some comment here. This function to validate the form. Okay, so just a simple function. When user click on add record, it will call this. And this function should be the first one to be called. But anyway, we're not calling this function. We're calling add record. Yeah, but add record will call this one. So this always will be there when you want to enter any data. So we'll call it validation. We'll create a variable called student mark, and this will get whatever the user entered into this field. So that should be, as we know before, we can use get document by ID and use that ID to do that. So document dot get element by ID, and then the ID will be CR. Yeah? ID CR and then value. Yeah, CR MR. Sorry, because I'm looking at the mark. Value. Okay. So this one basically, just let me make sure it's correct. I'll add here a pairs and to make float. Yeah, sorry, to make sure this one comes as a number. so to avoid any problem with the text. So later, because we'll be using some numbers to validate this one. So that we receive the marks, now we need to check the credit. And we need to make sure those marks are between 0 and 100 and credit is not less than 0. So we'll add the same thing. I think it should be integer because credit usually just there's no half credit. Some places they have very strange thing, but let's assume we don't have. And then he'll have our if statement if the student mark is less than or equal 100, and then the second condition if student mark is more than or equal 0. This is the right data that we accept, otherwise we will send a message to the user saying your data is not valid. And here last one is we need to look at course credit, which should be more than 0. Yeah, more than 0. So if this is okay, here is what we're going to do. Then first of all we need a place we display a message saying data is correct or not correct or whatever. So where will we put it? I think it's better put it below that add record button. So where is that add record? After the form. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just add here and add it here in this place. So we'll just add ID. I'll call it error. Yeah. And then we'll have some data displayed later here when things are okay. So let's come here, and now we say if in case of that we'll display nothing in that field. If in case all the data are valid, so we just leave that field empty. So what we will do, just basically say get element by ID and ID is error. Then we'll put inner text, and then we will equal nothing. Yeah, just open quotation mark and closing and semicolon. Basically what we're saying, when this is correct, you just make that one appear empty. So then we'll return a true. Okay, close that one. That's in case if it is really the answer is true. Otherwise, else, we'll just put a message for the user on the screen that display there's a problem with entering your data, so we need to enter the right data. So just here, that's the same one we used up, and now here with data that will be displayed. So make sure that the mark is not more than 100 and not less than 0. It should be no negative mark, yeah. And credit should be more than or equal 0. With the credit, you should accept 0, but just some courses they have 0 credit. But in case of that, you do need to include them in your calculation because they're not part of the calculation. Okay, now that's our validation is there. I noticed, I think there's something okay, we'll look at it later. So let's continue, proceed now to the actual function that will be called first. It's a function called add record that on in the click here. So that's the one which we will run first. So let's just create that function and see what will be the code in it. So add record, open bracket, close, and then here we'll add the function. Now first thing we need to call that function a validation function. If the validation function is true, then we continue adding data. Otherwise, we don't add data. So that's how simple as is. So let's have if statement, if validation, open bracket, close bracket, equal, true. Means if what's coming from as a return from that function is true. So if what coming is true, then we do what we're supposed to be doing here. So first thing we need to get the data that the user entered in those three fields. So we'll just create variables to host those data, or store this data, and then later we can send them to the array. By the way, we need to create the array first. So let's create this arrays. We should have three arrays. One is the course, which we will see. We didn't decide how big it is because it will grow dynamically. The other one is a mark, it will grow again dynamically. And the third one, it should be credit hour. So this will store what the user will enter there. We'll add one more total point, which will multiply the credit of the course with the credit earned by the student. Okay. So just add few things here. Store total point scored by a student. This is not, in fact, the overall, and this is stores the credit hours for that course, and the other one will store the mark. This is the mark that's scored by the student in that course. Okay, and then we'll add it all together in the array. And this one stores course code. Yeah, just fix this, so all should be stored, and then you can continue. Now, those are the four arrays we created. Two the user will enter value for, and the third one will be calculated based on the results. Let's come here and create a local variables that will get the data from the user input, and we'll be calling the first one C. C will get the course name, so we'll say document, and now we're getting used to this. So that's it. Elements by ID, and the ID will be here CR because that's the course. We gave it ID CR in our form. Dot value. Oops, with this. Yeah, okay. Fix this one, so that's what will come there. I'll fix this one. Then come back here and lowercase e. Okay, very good. So that's what will come from that field. The second one, we will just copy this 3 times. This one we'll call it M, and it will take the MR value, which is the mark, and the third one CC, and we'll use it to store the credit hours. CH, because we called it CH. So whatever the user will enter will be stored here. Then now what we need to do is just adding to the array a new element at the index course length, because assume there is 0, so the length will be first element 0. If the length is 1, will be 1, and that's it. So we're adding it that way. Same thing. So here I'm going to add the mark. Just use mark here. In fact, it's all the same, but just to be sure I'm using the matching one. If I use course as index, still okay, because they are all the same. The last one is CH. C hours. C hour is C hour dot length, and CC. So basically this one is adding now the data to the array. So a new element in that array been added at the moment and went there. This is how simple as it is adding extra elements to an array. Now this in case of everything is valid and things are going okay, and we have read all the data. Now at the end of doing that, we want to display the content of that array. So we'll have a function called display courses. We'll go and write this function. Basically this function will display the content of the array in that table format. So let's call this function, and we write function display courses, then here we need to display that table. This we need a loop to go through the array from the beginning to the end and do display. But before that, I need a dynamic way to get the IDs from this table or from the rows. I need them to come in a more dynamic way. So let's start now by creating some variables that we will use them to store those dynamic things. First, we'll add a total to add the total, calculate all the total. I'll add another one to create total credits, make it 0, and the third one to store the total points, that is student score. So these are going to be used to calculate the GPA. Leave that. Now we'll come to what I wanted to do. As I said, I need a for loop to go through this array from 0 to the length of that array. So we'll call it course.length. So this will go through all elements in the arrays I have and increment that one by one. So let's find a dynamic way, as you said, to come with those variables, which we can use to do that. This can read basically, I can read those data and store them on those elements in the table. So the element I'll store in COM, CN1, CN2, CN3, and all this. Let me just create those dynamic variables. Let's just ignore this one. Yeah, and let's come here and create, for example, CN. I want to make CN1, CH1, CH2 goes increment by 1 automatic and become like an ID for each one of this. So we'll have the CN will be CN plus the number 1 or 0 if it is the first element. You know the array starts by 0, so what I need here, my loop starts by 0, so I need to say CN I plus 1. That's okay. So now it becomes CN1 or CN2 or CN3, depends on the loop when it goes around. The same thing I can create for CH1 and the rest. Let me just put them here for you. Those basically dynamic IDs for those columns in my table. They correspond to the same IDs there, and they will be incremented by 1 every time. So like it's CN1, CN2, CN3, depends on the loop again. So this I can use them now to send the outcome of the array to the table. So if it's the first one, it will go up this, or just put it the same sequence as I have. It doesn't make any difference, but this is better. Now let's go down and as you can see, they are the same, yeah? So the matching and they keep incrementing. Now back to this function. So what we're going to do basically now send back the result to the table and display it in the right column using our variables which CN or IDs. So this will store the course name. So that's the way I just put it there because I use CN for the course name in this case. Basically I can just do the rest are the same. They are all the same. First three should be simple for you, but the other three, so I just put them here for you. Let's just arrange them. It's always good to arrange your code and you later go and add your comment and make sure everything is readable and organized and you can find any problem. So the first three are corresponding to the field in the form, but the last three are based on calculation. You notice I'm using there M2G. M2G is a function that converts mark to grade, which we created in a previous tutorial. That function will call it, will send it the mark, it will send us the grade and grade point for each course. We'll create that one, but I don't want to spend time on explaining it to you. Let me just comment this one. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so now what we'll do, we need just to get the data coming there, so the name will come there and the other course name and hours, credit hours, marks, and other things will be coming there. So if we go just show you the previous one we have, just the completed one, so you understand how it works and just get you to know. So this is the one I already have running there. So I add CIA to whatever, give a mark there and click on the credit, then it added. See, you get here the total points, you get the point for that per credit and the number of credit. So the number of credit multiply point per credit based on the mark, then get you the total point the student will get in his or her transcript for that course by scoring 68 in the course. And then this is all added, the total of all marks added. So if I add another course here, CIS 2303, and add number 66, and then you see 85, sorry, and then it's added the total marks, he scored 153, he got 6 credit in total he did, and total credit point 15. So to do that, we need a way to calculate those things. So we need some additional variables that we need a way also to get this data. First one is how we can get the letter grade C, B, and the other one how we can get the points. That's what we need. So we need an extra function, basically, which we call it M2G, which that function will be used to convert mark to grade, and then does the other thing. Let's create it here. At the end, we'll call it function M2G, and we're passing to it M. We have done this one before, so I don't want to waste your time doing it. It's just a basic if statement. Look at different the input of mark and convert it to grade. Becomes C or B or A. It depends on whatever the user scored into the course. Let's get that function and just fill it here. Okay, so no, this is the wrong thing. Sorry, copying the wrong one. There it is. I'll just delete this one. I have function. So as you can see, it's a very basic one. Get M, then it will calculate, find you the G and point based on the score. 60, less than 60 is F and whatever. At the end here, create an array with two elements. One is 0, one is 1. 0 will be used for the letter grade, which A, B, C, D, whatever. And the point will be a number which correspond to how many points the student will get if he or she done. And now these functions make sense, which we have, but before that we need to calculate the total points the student scored in that course. So which multiplying it, the point he scored in the course multiplied how many credit is that course. This will get him or get her the total point score. So we'll create an array called T point or total point. Basically, that total point is the credit of the course multiply the how many points per course is scored. So it should be course credit hours per course multiply what's coming from this function, which the function is M to G, and we'll do that calculation now. Okay, so just calling the function, I'm taking the first element. Why? Because the grade point is number 1, which is the second element in the array. So that's how it looked like. Here equal, and that's it. Although in JavaScript you don't need to have semicolon at the end of every row if it is a single row, but I'm just used to that, so I always just put a semicolon at the end of the row because of my Java background or C# or whatever you call it. Here just let's make sure this one is coming only 2 decimal point, so I'm using just 2 fixed 2, so that will make sure it's only 2 decimal point. I don't want to have a point where you have 2.3333 to the end of that. Okay, now that's good. So these are the same. You've got to look at those rows are all the same as the previous one. So you're just calling that function and finding the letter grade and displaying it, and then the point and displaying it, and the total point which we just calculated now and displaying it there. So that will display those 6 elements that we need for our data. Okay. Now there's one missing, is we need to add. Let's just remove this space here, organize our code again. So we need to add those totals at the end. Add the total of each column. Yeah, or total of marks, total of credit, total of things. So what I'll do now, create variables. One called the total we already have. Just will add the total. The total will be basically the total, previous total, adding to that the mark the student, the one we're talking about now, which I. That's one, and the other one is total credits, which we have done before. Just to make this one short, make it integer, integer, to make sure it doesn't get some silly numbers, and then because it will treat it as script already as a string, by already declare it as integer. That's fine. Let's just continue. Add total. It's a safer way to make sure it's working fine. So the total credit will be actually the total credit plus C hours. Yeah. Can be the same. Sorry. The last thing we need to add is actually the total points student score. Adding the last column you have there. So total points, total points. This one we need to make sure it is float, because integer you will lose important decimal points that are important in the GPA calculation. So make it float, and then we're adding basically the T point. Good. Okay. I can put the semicolon, but just leave it there. I don't need them. Maybe later I'll add them, although I do not need them. It's just a habit that I do. Now we need to add this row here and display it at the end of the table. Yeah, so they will get that to table data here. So basically it's the same thing. What we have here with these are the IDs. They are just basic ID, they are not incremented. So we just use those IDs to fill total course winner. And I don't need that. And then I'll add the rest of it. So let's just display it in those rows by using our document get element by ID and changing the inner text. And that's how basic it is. So these are the three I'll just add, which will have the total of the mark, the total of credit, and the total of point. So these are the three totals I will add at the end, and then I need to calculate the GPA. GPA is basically dividing the total points by total credit. I need a place to put it in, so let's put it here, add it in one of the rows, and we'll call it CGPA. That's the ID for it. So using that ID, I can just basically now display it. I'm just did here to fix it to decimal point. I'll add the text GPA, and that's it. So I'm just dividing basically the total credit, the total point scored by the total credit, and that will get the GPA. So 15 divided by 6, in this case 2.5. Everything looks fine, I think. I hope we did not miss anything. Well, we'll debug it, we'll find any errors we have. So first thing, as you said, will be called is add record, which will add the validation. The validation is correct, and it will proceed with the add record. Otherwise, it will let me go back to our file, close this tab on my browser, and go back to my original one. Did I save everything? Just let me make sure I save everything. Sometimes I do not just save it, and I keep trying, but the changes I make, it doesn't appear because basically I did not save my file, and please remember. So back, this is ours, so refresh it. Let's try now. Add CIA 2503, this is my course which we're studying here. Score 75, add 3, it's added. Very good. Now let's make this one 0. I'm getting that message. Oh, I want to make this message looks in red color. So what we will do, we will come here and create CSS. And we'll see how it will go. So we'll add just the TR there, and that will help me to change. There's just the basic color. Oh, sorry, this is for the error. Let's leave this one as it is. This we should not touch. It should stay as it is because it's not the one. Okay. So error. That should be the GBA. Sorry, that should stay as it is. I should change up there, but let me put this one back as it is. Sorry, no, that's not the one. I have many things in the memory. Let me copy the right one. I should delete it. Yeah. So this, leave it here. This is related to the GBA. We need to find that's the error. So that's the error. So we'll come here and now add error. I just use the ID because it has the ID. So this one just basically will change the color to red. Now if click, it's not working. If I say, because strong, course ID give 703, again I should get the same error because 700 is more than 100. Should not accept that, and that it's working fine in terms of validation. If you just enter some symbol, correct data 75 3, and it should be working. Make it 0, it will not work. And then if I go back and change it to 3, it goes okay. See the problem here, I have this decimal point, so many decimal point in the total points, so I need to use 2 fixed. So just go to the code and search for the total points. Yeah, so total points are displayed in display. Here it is. So what we basically need to have is just adding 2 fixed to the total credit and total point. And the total credit is anyway integer, but just in case later we change it. And the next one is the total point. Save it, and has fixed the 2, so you don't need that. Okay, good. So now if we save it and refresh, go back and do, it will not display the same so many decimal point in that case. It continues in 2 decimal point because we fixed it to 2 decimal point. Okay, so just as a summary how this works, we have 4 array variables we created, one for the course, one for the mark, one for the credit, one for the point. Then have the validation that will check if the validation is within the right valid data. Then we'll have add record, which will check first the validation. If the validation is true, then it will go and add whatever the user has entered into the form. And then we'll have, then it will call display courses to refresh the screen. You can look at it that way, and display and calculate the overall total of credit, of points, of marks, and divide the total points by total credit. So we'll have a for loop, goes from beginning to the end of the loop, then create those dynamic variables which will correspond to those rows. So, and they created automatic, and every time one is created, then use that data to send the data to the table. And then we have those total, we collecting total of mark, total, although total of mark we collected, but we did not use it at all. We have this function that convert mark to grade, which M to G, which we're calling it here, and it return an array with element 0 is the grade here, and element 1 is the point. So grade coming from here, that's the grade, and then the point, and that's the point. And then it displays those things there. Then we're collecting some numbers here, looking at the total points, total, all these totals happening inside the loop, because every time the loop make a loop, it adds those numbers to each other. At the end, outside the loop, it will just display the total here in the last row for everything, and in the one really last row where we have the GPA calculation, it does this is the one used to calculate GPA by simply dividing total point by total credit. And that's the overall and complete explanation of the code. So these are the two things which we used here. We used them to calculate the GPA. I hope you've found this useful, and you can play with it and test it more and more. Yes, we have a limited 5 rows in the table. We can create it as a dynamic by creating the table using JavaScript. That's something for you to try. And we can also create paging, where you display just number of rows in the first page, and then you go to the second page. We'll do this in another video, hopefully. So I wish you a good time, and thank you.